me get into some more stuff here because there's a mother trying to help her child and give some feedback with that. Hey, Mark, I really enjoy your material. I'm grateful to have found it. I have a long history of family trauma. I'm going through a very difficult season with my youngest child. I know you said to keep the questions brief, but I think some backstory would be helpful to understand where I'm coming from. She has seen demons, spirits, and ghosts since she was a little girl, and she's currently having severe mental health struggles that include symptoms that seem like Tourette's or some kind of tic disorder. She has a lot of anger, anxiety, and has been bullied at school to the point where it seems as though she had a target for this, even though she doesn't do anything to anyone. She's very sensitive, and I honestly have a hard time with my reactions when she tells me things. So that's a place that I look at. I underline that statement right there in my mind. I have a hard time with my reactions when she tells me things. And one of the things that we have to do as parents is we have to create as safe environment as possible for our children to share with us, because there's a lie of shame that comes in very, very quickly that will teach our children, keep this stuff closed in, don't share, don't tell your parents, you're going to get in trouble, it's better off not to share. In my upbringing, in my generation and my peers, you didn't even have an option to share. It wasn't a thought in your mind. I never had it cross my mind. This just shows the difference in generations, right? I never had it cross my mind to even share how much anxiety was in my life. It wasn't until my adult years that I even started sharing with my parents how much was going on in my head. So, love you, Mom and Dad. Watching. So anyway, the thing we as parents need to do is create the best environment to show that when they share stuff, we're not thrown off. Now, inside, you might be going, oh my goodness. But to create a response where they can feel safe. And that's where I would tell you to work at. Now, I don't see anything about her father here. So I would like to know, what's her dad doing? Because if she feels like she's seeing stuff, she's seeing like apparitions in the room, she's seeing, whether what she's seeing, is she seeing stuff? Is she just kind of, like kids do, they think they see something or whatever. But she's also if she's having some kind of tic disorder or Tourette's, that probably needs to be checked out and examined if there's some neurological thing that's going on here. But, and that may be targets of bullying and things like that too, if there's times where she just may be a little bit off in how she's coming across socially or relationally. So two things to look at is mom and dad being a safe presence where she can talk and share, where that is built strongly within her. And where's dad? Because a lot of moms are writing to me, and I need to see some more dads involved in this process. For the last 5 years or so, I've watched many, many videos and read several books related to spiritual warfare and the like. Okay, so I have a feeling you're going to do some demon chasing here. My question is, how do you know what you're supposed to do if nothing seems to be helping? Well, the first thing you do is get rid of the statement that says nothing seems to be helping. That's a common statement we use that's just not true. There's no such thing as nothing is helping. It's just what I've done so far, I'm not sure it's helping. Because when we say, we do this in our prayer life too. God, I've done everything, help me. It perpetuates a limiting mentality. And what it does is it shuts our brain down. When I say I've tried everything, your brain shuts down in that area. It takes the subject and puts it into a box, right? And sometimes that's the way we compartmentalize things. But it's a limiting mindset that doesn't expand your thinking. So that's where I would start. And I see you kind of like, okay, I got to figure out spiritual warfare, which that's going to lead you into a lot of like, try this prayer, try this thing, try that thing. What I want to do, because I'm at a stage in my journey, being 20 something years into this, spiritual warfare teaching, I'm more of at a place now where it's fatiguing. It's fatiguing me because we're wearing out a lot of recommended pathways and teachings that's just sending people into a bunch of shadow boxing and jumping through a bunch of hula hoops. And then when they don't see results, we tell them to jump through some more, and maybe you've done this. And then we get into curses and we get into that. And it starts to get very superstitious. It starts to send people in spirals. Yes, we're in a battle, but the battle's relational. I can drive out more demons out of my kids by loving them, having a bond with them, having conversation with them, walking with them, praying with them, sharing with them, having fun with them, than any spiritual warfare technique that's ever been published in any spiritual warfare book. That's a long sentence. Because we see a problem in our kid and we go to like the magical toolbox. Well, I got to pray this prayer. I got to break this thing. No, you got to spend time with your kid. You got to, our son, we have spent hours and hours and hours with my daughter. I've spent hours and hours and hours working with them, listening to them. I personally believe parenting now is the hardest work in the history of parenting, because our children are made aware of so many things so young. There's so many topics and things that are coming at them. The information age that we live in has made so many things accessible now. So their brains are flooded with all these things that I never even knew. There's words my kids know that I didn't know till I was an adult, topics that they are aware of. And, you know, we homeschooled them most of the years. You know, we have pretty strong standards of what they look at, what they watch. And yet still, there's value systems that come in. And so a lot of the spiritual warfare techniques are like, pray this prayer, pray this. And I'll be honest, I've done them. But the most powerful thing to do is feed the bond of relationship with our children. And the biggest spiritual attack on our kids is just us as parents just being disconnected, being too busy. We have to work multiple jobs. We have so much going on. We have deadlines. We have things. We're working late hours. We're exhausted. So we want our parenting to kind of go into autopilot. We want it to kind of be automated. Like, can you just figure this stuff out? Which is what they did to us as kids. You'll figure it out. You know, those wolves out there, yeah, you'll figure it out. And so we get there's a lot of spiritual warfare teachers, and they cause people to excessively spin and spin and spin over trying to find the right prayer and the thing. And maybe this is a curse. Maybe this thing. Maybe somebody made a vow. Maybe this thing that's happened. Maybe I think. Maybe. But that's not the primary thing, because we often want some kind of magical prayer or some, and many churches kind of teach in that way. If you do this and do this and do this, you just won't have any battles and any problems. And it's just not true. We're in a war, but the war is relational. It's relational. It's you being connected to God, you being connected to yourself in fruitful ways, and you being connected to others in a healthy way. That's where the battle is. And so me as a dad, just creating that imprint in my children does more spiritual warfare like than anything else I've ever seen. So anyway, let me go back to what you shared. My question is, how do you know what you're supposed to do if nothing seems to be helping? I already confront that. What do? You develop the bond. You sit and talk. You work through things. You listen. You love. You empathize. You hug. You care. You listen with an empathetic ear. Listen, and parents, when we look at the younger generation, there's a tendency for us to look and go, nah, it's really not a problem. You know, you think in your mind, when I was your age, I didn't have anyone to talk. Right? We kind of do that. Don't default to that. Default to empathy. Default to listening, because when we judge people, we can't help them. That's kind of one of the things that I think is important to remember. So in your place of frustration, you're saying, like you've mentioned before, I do the rescue me prayers and God, where are you prayers, which are understandable. Okay, you didn't sin. It's not something wrong, but it's not effective. Those kind of prayers, we all say them. We all say them. God, where are you? Nothing works. I don't know. Woe is me. We all say them, but they're not effective. And David himself did that in the Bible. God, where are you? You've forsaken me, right? Tons of it. But those are not the prayers that you hang over your toilet as decorations. The prayers are the ones that he found his way into the place. God, I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I've never, you lead me beside the still waters. You restore my soul. He dwells in the secret place in the Most High. I shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he's my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him will I trust. We get that through the hard times. So those God, where are you prayers, we often start that way. and then we walk away. And my encouragement is time to go deeper, because in the love bond with your children, you'll figure out what's needed. Because many times my kids just need me to be there for them and listen to them. Sometimes they need a bit of discipline to go, hey, just go and do it. There's many times I have to tell my kids, just take a step and try it and watch them get a victory and go, see, you did it. And so wisdom shows up when you learn how to just open up the atmosphere of loving compassion. One of the pastors who I've learned a great deal from is big on rules, laws, and principles. Okay, from the Bible. And some of the things he says has me very confused when I compare to what you teach. I bump into this all the time. And I'm not going to compete with other teachers or, any of that, but what he goes into here, I don't know. This is not helpful. One of the main things he talks about is fasting to break evil covenants and evil altars. Fasting's great. Breaking evil covenants and evil altars. The problem with that is you can make that anything. I didn't have breakthrough, Pastor. There was an evil covenant that was done 10 generations ago. The Lord's telling me this. You need to fast about it. Okay, Pastor, I did that. I'm still struggling. Okay, well, there's another. It could just be. So unfortunately, that sounds more like something you would see in Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter than actual like biblical application. Okay, and so I'm not trying to make light of this. And so, but you say here, it involves generational curses, which I know you've talked about as well. He says we're not supposed to fast if we have unforgiveness, bitterness, or anger in our hearts, because that means we regard iniquity and God won't hear us. That's like a bunch of different scriptural precepts just shoved in together. How about just spend time with your daughter and pray for God to give you a powerful love and discernment. Spend time with her, walk with her through this. We don't see that as spiritual warfare. And that's the part that's frustrating. That like if you came to me and said, I've got a demon in my life. And I go, all right, let's spend some time together. And I spent 2 hours with you and loved you and listened to you. Most people don't consider that spiritual warfare. And it is. Yep. Perfect love casts out fear. Demons are real. Spiritual warfare is real. The avenue for overcoming is not a list of these direct rules and things, because that's what we want. We want a sense of control. We want to like pull a lever, pull a thing. And a lot of times we watch too much TV too, and it's like you're trying to find the right spell. Harry Potter, what is it that we have to do? And it's like walking with God is a relationship. And sometimes there's a prayer that will unlock something, but a lot of times it's just developing the bond. And in the bond, things happen. But it's not super magical, and it's not some missing ingredient. We're passing by love, though, meanwhile. Your daughter needs to feel safe and loved. She's getting bullied. She's got all kinds of stuff going on. She's having stuff at night going on. How many times for years? Our son couldn't go to bed for 8 years in a normal fashion. My wife is still having the effects of sleep deprivation because of how many times she would get up and the rounds it would take for us. In times where her or I would just lay with Max there and be with him. If we went through a lot of those hula hoops. And you know what the best thing I learned in all of it wasn't some super spiritual technique. It was just being with him, being patient with him, loving with him. Sometimes it'd be just worshiping, laying there next to him while he's restless and getting up. Max, it's all right. It's all right. We just love on him. And God did a work in us while we learned to persevere and hang in there. You see, we want the quick thing. And there's a lot of quick fix hustling preachers out there. Like just do this and do that. And you gotta fast to break these things. And I fasted. We fasted. We've done those things and continue to value them, but not in the way that people often do it. In a way of like fasting often becomes this like slot machine that we're going to make a deal with God. I could do this fasting. Okay, God, because you're going to do this thing and you're going to change this thing for me. And I think we minimize the simple things that are needed. So anyway, Then you say we should rest in the Lord and we don't have to strive or perform. Now, resting in the Lord, just so you all know, because some of you write to me and say, I want to just rest in the Lord. And you think it means you're just like, nothing bothers me. I'm just floating through life. Now, resting in the Lord is a learning process where you're learning to cast your cares, but resting in the Lord is very active. It's not a passive state. Oh, whatever. It's learning to engage a problem and issue. You process it with God. You give it to him, but yet you still remain active in your place. I'm a very present dad because that's what I want to be. And it's an act of rest. There are times where I'm striving too hard, too much pressure. I'm in Mark DeJesus mode, and I need to learn to take my peace. It's a practice here. But rest in the Lord doesn't mean like you're just going to be floating. So when you have situations like mine, it gets a little confusing to know what to do. My daughter's at a critical point now where she has said many times that she doesn't want to live. She wants to die and has harmed herself before. Her body and her physiology is crying out for nurture and love. All hands on deck. Love, nurture, love, nurture. There is no other subject. Her physiology is actually crying out for it. And so, and that may take you as a mom learning how to access that for yourself. Because we have generational lack of nurture. We only pass down what we know, but we come from lack of nurture. So we have a lot of learning to do. I have had a lot of learning to do and continue in what nurture is because I lacked it. And then I show up to parenting, I'm going to pour out an empty bucket. So I've got a process with God learning to receive his nurture because then I give that nurture to my kids. This is where it's at. And we're teaching people, you got to say these 3 prayers and sign up for this. And the 2 breakthrough prayers are going to fix your parenting. The hard work is learning to love, learning to nurture. And of course, I've done the fasting and renunciation prayers. I don't have another fasting. No more fasting. No more fasting. No more renunciation prayer lists. But the negative patterns are evident and continue are undeniable. I've dealt with these types of things my whole life and the emotional pain and helplessness to save my child, whom God has given me to raise. Yeah, and where's the dad? Because she may be crying out for the love of her father, who may not be in the picture. Yet for some unknown reason, and see, this is where we end up with a lot of these pathways, whose God's given me to raise, yet for some unknown reason is not helping us. That's not true because I'm talking to your situation right now. So we're just going to throw that out. Because nope, I'm taking time in this broadcast to address your question. So you are being helped. And but it's a matter of making some adjustments. I'm not trying to compete with your pastor, but there's a lot of that going on. And I don't think it's very productive or helpful